Travis Williams said the goal is the playoffs. So let's take him at his word and see if we can get there with the same budget Ben Charrington had last year. Spoiler, it's going to take some creativity.
You are Locked On Pirates, your daily Pittsburgh Pirates podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey everybody, welcome to Locked On Pirates. I am Gary Morgan, and this episode is all about one thing: getting the Pirates into the playoffs in 2026. Not building a powerhouse, not winning the division, not getting to 83 plus wins and grabbing a wild card spot. The budget, roughly 35 to 40 million. The strategy, aggressive trades, smart free agent signings, and betting on internal development. Let's break it down. But first, today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. So let's do this in segments. And this is my philosophy today. That's what it's all about. Mine tomorrow is what I think the Pirates might do. And then the third day is going to be the cheapest way they could possibly go. And we'll just lay them out side by side and see what we think is the best plan moving forward. And maybe I'll even do one that's like, hey, some amazing altruistic owner buys the team and does something crazy. We'll see if I have time for that by the end of the week. But my philosophy really is to carpet bomb the trade market. Compete deals against each other, not yourself. Put multiple offers out there and let the best one win. And the reason that I say this is because the Pirates are never going to be the top bidder for anybody, most likely. And if I'm them, I very aggressively don't go out and wait to hear who might be available. I go out and target people that I want to be available. Guys that I want to make something happen with. I target some spots where I think I might be able to pry some talent away, and I might not regret what I have to spend to get it done. That's what I'm doing. And my targets for this, I'm going to reach out to 3 specific teams, and I'm laying all of these out there at the same time. These are my offers. Okay. Anthony Santander from the Blue Jays, outfield DH, switch hitter, hit 44 home runs in 2024. Really rough 2025. I mean, did you guys see him playing in the World Series? I didn't. His track record is very strong. I think the Jays might want out of his contract. Now, it's not a cheap contract. You'd have to eat money. But I think they might want out of it bad enough to eat some of the money and or take some lottery ticket type return for it. I don't think the Pirates would be the only team in on Santander, but I would definitely make my interest known. Then I'd head over to the A's and I'd offer the A's 3 guys I'm interested in. Tyler Soderstrom, catcher, first baseman, outfielder. Bat has a lot of upside, really started to peak this year, came into his own offensively. One of the few players I would consider worth trading Mitch Keller for. The A's still have that problem where they're having a hard time getting pitchers to sign on the dotted line to come there. Mitch Keller would be a signed, controllable starting pitcher with an open, viable contract that the A's could stock and help fix some of their biggest issues. In order to do that, yes, I'm asking for offense, and I'm asking for young offense that has an awful lot of time left on it. Offense that's shown up in this league and done something. Lawrence Butler is another guy I'm interested in. He's athletic, outfield depth, left-handed, doesn't have as much pop as I'd like, but he's got a little bit of sneaky stuff. I think he could take advantage of the Clemente wall. I also think he could fit as a really nice leadoff hitter for this team. And then just a flyer that I would take just to kind of see if there's any interest there at all. The A's just picked up Leo DeVries last year, and he's in Double A, top shortstop prospect, third in baseball. Long shot that they would be interested in moving him. I think they'd be just as interested as we would Connor Griffin. But I also think it's fair to say that they have shortstop solved. And again, they really need pitching. So you could see a situation where potentially there's a marriage there. And I would at least put it on the table. That gives them 3 distinct things that you might be interested in to talk about. Each one of them would come with a different package that I'd offer back. But this is just a dialogue I'm starting with all of these teams at the very beginning. I go to the Red Sox next. Masataka Yoshida, DH, barely used outfielder. They didn't use him a lot. I can imagine that they would probably like to get him off of their books. They'd probably like to use their DH spot the way they did last year, which didn't include him, frankly. He's more of an average hitter than he is a power hitter, but he is both. He's definitely more of a DH. You don't necessarily want to use him in the outfield. It hasn't been a good experience. And Boston has a lot of the same quirks to their ballpark as the Pirates do. Sure, it's different dimensions and everything, but if you couldn't find a home for a guy like that in a weird outfield like Boston has, chances are you're going to struggle to find a home for a guy like that in a place that has weird dimensions like PNC Park does. But it's a bat, and it's one that might be available from Boston, and I'm interested in it. Jarren Duran, another one that I wouldn't mind getting my hands on, center field option. I like what he is as a player overall. I don't think he had the best year that you could put on paper as far as an example of what he's capable of. But I think we've seen what he's capable of as well. It'd be a decent trade. I wouldn't overpay for him, and I definitely will put it on the table as something I'm interested in. And then Joxton Nixon Garcia, they call him Password for a reason if you've tried to spell his name. And he's a guy that I think you could potentially see being interested in. He can play the outfield. I believe he's major league ready. He did debut last year. Type of guy that I would definitely want included in a conversation. Maybe he's even kind of the price of admission for you taking the salary of Yoshida off of them. And sure, you got to give them a decent prospect in return, but it's the type of thing that you might be able to pull off. You're not chasing one savior if you go this route. You're flooding the zone with options and letting the best deal win. Now, you'll notice I didn't name a whole bunch of guys that I would move, but I don't think you're talking about anybody in their top 3 or 4 prospects. You're not trading Griffin. You're not trading Bubba. You're not trading, Hernandez. You might see yourself think about moving a guy like Termar Johnson if need be, but most of your pitchers, you're talking about Barco and Xander Meath and you want to Carlson Reed. You're talking about good pitchers that are maybe a little bit further away. You might have to consider something like a Carmen Mlodzinski or Kyle Nicholas. Somebody that has got a lot of years of control left and looks like they could emerge. There's going to be a package that's necessary to get any of these names, and you're going to have to be willing to do it. Some of them I've tried to temper with them being owed a lot of money, like Anthony Santander or Yoshida. Even Jarren Duran to a degree would help solve a problem for the Red Sox. They need to make space for more of their younger talent. And Duran's going to start costing money really the next couple of years with arbitration. And then, he's someone else's problem as far as whether you're going to keep him or not. But Duran might be a great fit because, he feels a need immediately. If he gets passed by, you're not going to feel too awfully bad about it. He can back up center field, which I think is critical going into this season with O'Neal Cruz and really not being sure what he can or can't provide. Bottom line is, I'd go out strong. Let's say this happens at the winter meetings. These are trades I would propose immediately. And if one comes through and looks like it's going to happen, you either bargain the other ones down off of that knowledge, or you just accept it and back out of the other offers you've made. That's all. And if you're worried about the reputation of this GM in baseball, I think it's already kind of what it is. So I wouldn't worry about backing out of deals. And everybody should understand, if you bring up an original proposal, it's not final or anything. It's just a conversation starter. Start these conversations. I'd go out there with a list, a shopping list like I have, things that I don't think I can get on the free agent market that are really going to improve this team all that much. And I go out and I pop one of these trades and I offer all of them with the eye towards trying to get one of them. Otherwise, I think the Pirates are going to wait too long and swing and miss. And I don't want them to. And the free agent board isn't sexy for anybody. So I can see trades and creative trades in particular becoming a thing this year. So if I'm the Pirates, I go out there as early as possible with some clearly stated intentions of getting certain guys off of other teams' books. And I make it pretty clear that I'm going to be very open to trading things that maybe in the past I haven't been. Let's at least talk. Get those conversations going. Sooner the better. And make those deals sooner than later. Don't be there caught with your pants down waiting for the rest of the league to finally let you have somebody. Go take what you need. When we come back, it's step 2 of my pointed plan for how to get this Pittsburgh Pirates team into a wild card next year. NFL season is back. And honestly, there's nothing better than being in the stadium, surrounded by fans, cheering on your team. But let's be honest, getting tickets can be a real hassle. Between K's, long login screens, and prices jumping at checkout, it's frustrating. That's why I use Gametime, the app that gives the advantage back to fans. Gametime is fast, easy, and backed by Gametime guarantee. You'll always get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time and at the best price. Plus, all fees are included, so the price you see is the price you pay. I pulled up Gametime for last night's Steeler game just a couple hours before it started. Saw tickets on there for about $1.50. Good luck getting those in advance, right? Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Gametime today. Hey everybody, welcome back to Locked On Pirates. Make sure you smash that subscribe button and drop a like for me. Hit me with a comment. Segment 2 is about free agents. Okay, free agent targets and role players. These are all guys that I would target. We're not going to sign them all. I'm not pretending we're going to sign them all, but these are all guys that I would explore. And again, much like with the trade market, I'm going out there and doing this stuff early. And if one of them hits and I no longer need to target one of my trade options, great. I mean, great. Sign a guy, pull out of the trade talks you had going on. So what? Get as many things piled up, as many irons in the fire as you possibly can early on to see if you can get involved. My free agent list is not going to impress you. I'm not pretending it will. This is again based on what I think we have to spend, 35 to 40 million, and I may or may not have spent it all in the trade market. Possible, right? I may or may not have spent most of it in the trade market. Well, the things that I'm really worried about are the things I'm going to attack. This shouldn't really surprise you, but I don't feel comfortable going into 2026 with our third base and shortstop situation as it currently stands. I'm just not. I can understand wanting to kind of leave the door at least a little ajar for Jared Triolo to be a lot more of what he was at the end of the season, and then maybe you see him as a solution for third base or shortstop, whatever. But I maybe Connor Griffin gets there at some point. Maybe he even starts out of spring. Okay. Either way, I feel a little shaky about having two positions that I feel have that big a question mark heading into a 2026 season where I'm running around telling people I'm going to the playoffs. So my offers would be as such. I'd go out and try to get Isaiah Kiner-Falefa or Miguel Andujar for utility depth in the infield in particular. Andujar kind of suits a couple needs. You could shove him in the outfield if you had to, although that hasn't been great. He can play third base. He can play first base. He has proven that his bat plays in Major League Baseball. And this team just simply needs more hitters. I wouldn't mind having him even as a DH backup. You know, there's nothing bad that can come from having either of those two players on your team unless you're counting on them as nailed-on starters, which I would not be doing. Outfield help. Now, these would be starters most likely. I would go out and target Trent Grisham. He's probably my top free agent target. I think he's going to be expensive. I think he's going to get the qualifying offer, which is probably going to scare more people away. But I also, again, as I mentioned in the trade portion, there's a reason I'm targeting people that have center field capability. I just don't want to go into the season with O'Neal Cruz being my only center field option, probably non-tendering Jack Sawinski, so there's another one. At least considering not bringing back Alexander Canario. And then I sit there and I just look at center field and I'm real quick getting down to Billy Cook. You know, and I don't know that I want to go into a season like that. I think they're short an outfielder to begin with. So even if this person I sign as a starter isn't going to be in center field, I at least need that backup capability. I got to have it. I got to have somebody that can slide over there and man that position and do it well. Not only for if O'Neal Cruz stinks, but what if he gets hurt? You know, I mean, if he gets hurt, what are you doing in center field? I mean, there's some real issues there. I think that's why I would look towards Trent Grisham, Mike Yastrzemski, Cedric Mullins. Even I would throw into that as an option. For DH, first base, outfield, just bringing in a hitter, I'd consider Ryan O'Hearn. Had a really great season this year. I don't know if it's repeatable. In fact, I kind of doubt that it is, but I think he could be a reasonable signing, and I think that could overall lift all boats, if you will. I think that would be the rising tide that lifts all boats on this team. Just gets a little more offensive talent onto this team, gives Donnie some different options as far as the lineup goes. Then I'd go with bullpen reinforcements. Ryan Helsley, Emilio Pagan, Kyle Finnegan, Devin Williams. I'd put out offers to all four of those guys and hope that I got two of them, you know, if I could. I don't think the Pirates need it, but I think it would really help. I love what Dennis Santana has done. I have no problem with them going into the season with him opening the season as the closer, but I'd also like to bring in somebody that's done it before. I think Devin Williams or Ryan Helsley make a ton of sense for this team. The experience, you know, the playoff experience even. And I think Devin Williams in particular offers something that they don't have a lot of in this bullpen. And it's a change of pace. It's just somebody that's going to do something a little different to get outs. And I don't think that that's something that they should ignore. One more I'm going to kind of throw out there, and with relievers, it's tough because I could probably list off about 15 or 20 that would really help, but I'm trying to be a little more pointed with you. Caleb Ferguson, I would love to bring back. I thought Caleb Ferguson was great last year. He's not just good against lefties, he's just good. I'd really like to see Caleb Ferguson come back and have another crack at it here in Pittsburgh. I really was overwhelmed by him. I thought he was one of the only steadying forces in that entire bullpen that stayed a steadying force from start to finish. Dennis Santana as well. I thought he was really good all last year, but for the most part, that's the dude. And I just would love it. We need lefties. Caleb Ferguson's a guy I would love to see them go after again. Andrew McCutchen, I'd retain him, but I wouldn't rely on him. And I certainly wouldn't allow him to prevent you from bringing in someone else that needs to be primarily a DH, like a Ryan O'Hearn. I wouldn't be afraid to bring in too much just because I've got Kutch. That's something that I think you have to be very careful about. You need to realize that if you bring Kutch back, you're bringing him back for two reasons. One, you think he still has something to contribute, and I think that's a fair statement. Two, you're basically bringing back a mascot. Okay? You cannot count on him to drive anything. But you can count on him to be a big part of this team, clutch, able to come in and give you stretches of time, like if you have some injuries or he's hitting really hot and someone else isn't. You have to have that flexibility. Again, I harken back to segment 1. Toronto Blue Jays just almost won the World Series. And arguably their biggest get free agent wise was Anthony Santander, and they didn't even use him, not once. You have to be able to do that. You have to be able to take a big swing, and if it's a miss, you got to be willing to play the lesser kids, and you got to be okay with it. This is one of those times. Again, you're building a roster with flexibility, experience, and upside, not stars, contributors. We're just trying to get to 83 wins. We're trying to be realistic. If this exercise was me trying to get them to the World Series on this budget, I'd probably just laugh at you and hang up, because there's no way I'm doing it. Not on this budget. The best I can get you is a team that I feel pretty confident is going to squeak into the playoffs, and then all bets are off. Once you get in, anything can happen. Let's do segment 3 when we come back. It's focusing more on the internal side of things. This episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. You and I make decisions every day, but on PrizePicks, being right can get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement of this sports season. Whether you're following the NFL, NBA, or both, there's no better time to jump in on the action. If you haven't tried it yet, PrizePicks is the simplest way to play. Just pick more or less on at least 2 player stats, and if you get them right, you win. It takes less than 60 seconds to make your lineup, and you can play anywhere PrizePicks operates, including California, Texas, and Georgia. The new Stacks feature is a game changer. You can now pick more on Steph's points, threes, and assists. It's the same lineup. Plus, if one of your players leaves early with an injury, the injury reboot saves your lineup from a loss. Download the PrizePicks app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONMLB for $50 in lineups after your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks. It's good to be right. Hey, welcome back to Locked On Pirates again. Third segment, internal development and final moves. This is basically how I'll stitch everything together, because while I do want them to be aggressive on the trade market and I do want them to be aggressive on the free agent market, I'm asking them to go out there and throw a ton of landmines out, and when a couple get stepped on, cancel the program, right? So I've got some questions that get brought up throughout that process. Let's say Mitch Keller. If you decided to trade him, well, then I need you to use the savings from that, in part, to go get a veteran lefty innings eater for the starting rotation. I don't think there's a world where you can trade Mitch Keller and believe that your internal options will be enough. If only because I don't think you have enough guys who can give you the kind of innings load that Mitch Keller would. And if our goal is truly the playoffs, well, I want to win when I get there. And if I want to win when I get there, I need pitchers that don't have their arms falling off of the body. So if I trade Mitch Keller, I think I'm going to have to spend some of that cash going out and getting a lefty starter. If I don't trade him, well, then I'm relying on fringe upgrades and internal bats, right? I mean, like, that's really the truth. Yeah, I can make some trades, but I can't bring in a ton of salary. That's why I kind of kept my things where I was, because I wanted to make trade proposals and free agent proposals that weren't dependent on me moving one of my better players. Okay. I want to leave the option there. Like, I have all these irons in the fire. And if one of those deals requires Mitch Keller, I want to be okay with it. But that's why I've got all those irons in the fire, because I'm going to have to replace him. Right. So if you move Mitch Keller, I think it sends you into accepting or trying to finish one of those other proposals I made for the trades or free agency. You've got to make something happen to replace him one way or another. Now, I didn't add a veteran lefty into my mix, again, because I'm not presuming that Mitch Keller should be traded. I'm simply saying, in order to get some of those trades done, I may need to consider Mitch Keller. And if I do, I need to have a backup plan. And I just told you my backup plan for either direction it could go. In spring training, open competition. Let the youth win if they win. I can't say this any more strongly. If Connor Griffin looks like Connor Griffin is ready, let Connor Griffin be ready. If Esmeralyn Valdez looks like he's ready, let Esmeralyn Valdez be ready. If the pitchers look like they're ready, Hunter Barco shows out in spring, start him. Like, let the kids win. Don't let this be about what they did last year. Don't let this be about what you expected coming in. Let this be about who wins the competition in spring. It's not a final decision anyway. You're going to use 50, 60 players by the time the season ends. It's not as though you're not going to use this bank of players that don't make it. So be open to letting whoever wins play. Let it happen. Connor Griffin extension is what I would use any extra money I have towards. This year wouldn't need to be expensive. In fact, this year, you wouldn't even have to factor in what his pay would be. You could probably structure the deal so that 2026 and 2027, he's making like $1 million, and then it really ramps up after that. You don't have to make this painful right now. But any kind of extra dollars that you feel that you've saved from not winning on a free agent or not executing one of those trades, to me, I'm repurposing that capital into getting something like this done. The fans, I think, will get a lot more out of Connor Griffin being here, and for sure here, and for a period of time that this fan base has never seen. I think you get a lot more traction and goodwill out of doing something like that than just about anybody they could sign on the free agent board that's realistic. Because let's be honest, if they signed Pete Alonso, you'd probably be like, okay, well, I get it. That's great. I don't need them to extend Connor Griffin for me to be happy about this. That's a great move. They're not going to do that. You know they're not going to do that. This is a way they could go that I think would show fans a commitment, and yet it's still very low risk for them. You're talking about probably not really getting captured by a huge payday in any given season until he's been here for 5-6 years already, if you structure this properly. I think it's something that he would be open to accepting. It's a path that I would pursue for sure. This is the wild card path. That's what it is. I'm betting on breakout seasons from young players. I'm supporting them with a deeper and more balanced roster. Even if some of the parts don't fit perfect, they fit needs in one way, shape, or form. Got to have offense. That's what all of these, for the most part, bring in. You're not just building a team, you're building a path to 83 wins with contingencies and upsides built in. This isn't about building a juggernaut. It's about building a team that can sneak in, get hot, and maybe, just maybe, make Travis Williams look like a prophet. I hope you like it. Step 1. Step 2 is tomorrow. We're going to get into what I think the Pirates will do tomorrow, and then we'll do the supreme cheap option on Thursday, and then an AMA on Friday that hopefully digs in on a lot of the concepts that I present over these next 3 days. Thank you guys so much for being here, especially you everydayers. I appreciate it. And your comments are well thought out. Some of you are writing like full-on novels in the comment section. And believe it or not, I actually read them and I appreciate them. Thanks a lot. Remember, we're serious about the Pirates because somebody has to be.